Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, thank you for your presence here. More importantly, thank you for your presence in the air safety world that you are now operating in. After your confirmation, you became the Secretary. The first time I ever met you was on January the 29th at Reagan National Airport, and I appreciate the manner in which you conducted yourself and the things that you have done every day thereafter to make the skies safer and to honor the Lily's son and every other tragic loss that occurred that night on that flight from Wichita, Kansas. I appreciate you. I want to talk a little bit about some of these things that are related to that event, that tragedy. First of all, prior to the Army Aviation Brigade resuming helicopter operations at the National Capital Region in late April, did the Army or Department of Defense coordinate with you or the FAA? Did you then review and approve their re-entry into the field of operations?
So what we did after, I think it was 36 hours after the...
You said no. They came back. Did they consult with you?
When they came back, what I was talking about, are we talking about the off of runway 33, the restricted airspace?
Yes.
They still can't fly through that airspace. We have no fixed wing helo cross traffic.
And other airspace at Reagan?
There's still no cross traffic, but what you have seen is some helos at the Pentagon taking off, sometimes carrying VIPs and sometimes doing training missions, and that has been a concern.
And nothing has changed in your order to prevent them, to allow them to return, true?
Well, I hadn't prohibited them.
They did it on their own.
They do, yes.
But the problem is they could change their mind, and I want to know whether there's consultation between the Army and the Transportation Department, or the FAA.
So Secretary Hegseth paused any helo traffic out of the Pentagon, which I commend him for that. But we are going to continue that pause at the FAA at our discretion, and our teams are working together. I'm very concerned about the amount of traffic that's coming out of the Pentagon. And I do think if there's training missions, those training missions can be done at certain times of the day when we have less traffic into DCA, number one. And if there's VIP travel, I would like to know who are the VIPs. Who is traveling on these helos? Who classifies? I don't think any of you here get helicopter travel anywhere, and I would consider you all VIPs. Who's traveling, Senator?
It's one of the questions I intend to ask
Thank
in
you.
appropriation hearings as we have Defense Appropriation Subcommittee hearings. I would like to know the answer to that question.
If you'd share that with me too, I'd appreciate it.
And I've introduced legislation that I think is of value. In 2000, FY19, I said that wrong, in FY19, NDAA allowed prevention of DOT to require installation of ADSB equipment on those Army helicopters. It didn't stipulate in or out, but it allowed legislation that was passed by Congress allowed the Army to operate without ADSB. I've introduced legislation that would eliminate that NDAA provision, which I guess would put more back in your court to make decisions. Is that something that you would support or do support?
It is, and I think in regard to the it's not simple to turn it on and off. It was a little more complicated than that on the aircraft, and if they're doing training missions or flying through busy airspace, ADSB out should be on. However, if there was an actual national security mission at play, true national security, how do they quickly turn it off? Because we don't want enemies to see our aircraft. But the way this has been operating, I would support the idea that yes, all of them should have ADSB out activated.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I want to highlight so that you're not disappointed that I also care about essential air service, along with my colleagues, and let your stereotype of this committee, this subcommittee, be firmly implanted. Hugely important to Kansas. We also have issues related to air traffic control, in this case, separate from kind of the normal air traffic control towers. We utilize contract air traffic control towers at some of our smaller airports. I'd love to hear from you that that's a program that you're aware of and supportive of.
I'm aware and supportive of.
Thank you. And then I want to highlight the importance of CRISI grants. Your department has significant opportunities to increase railroad and traffic highway safety. And finally, in regard to tariffs, 1979 agreement on trade civil aircraft has been a great benefit to this country. We have trade surpluses in the aviation and aerospace world. We certainly export more than we import. And we are hoping that you will be a voice in discussions within the administration, within the cabinet, about the value of allowing this trade agreement since 1979 to work its course and let it continue to do the good things that we have been able to accomplish with an integrated supply chain that makes America #1 and allows Wichita, Kansas to be the air capital of the world.
If I support the president's efforts to actually bring more manufacturing and more fair trade to this country, to our people. I've also brought up the 79 agreement. I think on net it's an $80 billion export benefit to the U.S. Aviation. So the point is well made, and I've communicated that to the powers that be in the administration.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for using your position for good.
Thank you.